Okay, I think we're back. Hi guys, welcome. I'm being loud. Welcome to the Dinosaur Omelet Live. Good afternoon, good evening. How are you? I'm Christopher.
I'm Angela.
And tonight we are answering your questions. We got a ton of questions here at the Dinosaur Omelet. I made these little game show cards. Isn't that cute? So we're gonna be answering your questions tonight. So if you guys have questions, please drop them down into the comments. So, new guys, welcome here. If you're new, if you're watching the stream live, please join in. Say hi, drop a question in the comment, and we'll be certain to get to you. And what kind of questions are you asking, especially if you're new? Well, we're a small homesteading channel, right? Mm-hmm. And tell them a little about us, ma'am, please. This is Angela.
I'm
again.
Angela. We are big fans of encouraging people to become self-sufficient in any way that they can. And we like to share our experience, our adventures, and just things that we do, and based on our own personal research and like sifting out good and bad and pros and cons, all that stuff, raising animals on a smaller homestead. So we like to encourage people to work with what they have, the space they have, the time and energy that they have to better themselves.
And the resources.
To focus
finances.
on quality of life and pursue things that make you happy as far as skills, learning skills, and being more connected with the soil, the plants, being outside and interacting with your family.
Yeah. So here's the deal too. If you guys are new homesteaders, if you're new to this whole farming thing, or maybe just started a garden this year, it is labor. It's a lot of work. It's labor intensive. There's a lot of work involved. And what has happened, you see, we Westerners aren't used to doing anything that doesn't involve clicking on a telephone. So a lot of people got into the homestead culture a few years ago, and there was this decline afterwards. And we did a live about that a little while ago, about the attrition involved in homesteading because of the difficulty of the, it's a whole entire different lifestyle, which is work. But there's reward in it, so keep at it, keep doing a thing, you keep learning skills, and it's very rewarding, especially when you pick an edible vegetable off of the vine.
Yeah, and we're really big fans of goal setting, planning, creating steps to achieve what you want to do, your big why, that's going to be your motivating factor. And so then also you can be prepared yourself, you can problem solve, and also take care of your critters and whatever you have or whatever you're pursuing, rather than rushing into something. Maybe getting animals before you even have an enclosure for them, or even knowing what to feed them.
Yeah, we have a ton.
People rushed in and with the whole 2020, and that can be really overwhelming if you are not prepared. So.
We have a lot of videos in our live discussion where we talk about this. We talk about a lot of different, educational stuff. Mm-hmm. How to plan, goal setting. Making goals according to who you are, not trying to mimic anybody. Anyway, there's a whole bunch of videos that we did on that very subject to keep it kind of streamlined. Anyway, let me finish up our intro about who we are. So again, Dinosaur Omelet, we're a small hatchery here in southern Lancaster County, Pennsylvania. We focus on jumbo Coturnix quail. We raise quail, and Angela has a wonderful selection of silky chickens.
Yeah, we call them the Dino Puffs.
Dino Puffs. Dinosaur. And I'm sweating to death because I put my body on a bicycle and
he always exercises before our live videos, which gets his body temperature up.
Look, a sweat hog. Yeah. If you're young people, a sweat hog is something from Mr. Cotter's Classroom from the 1970s television show. Welcome back, Cotter. You've never heard of this.
I think I've heard of it.
Oh. Yeah, so tonight, we have a selection of wonderful questions from the callers at home, you special people out there in audience land. And we look forward to having your questions down in the comments, or just a comment, or if you feel whatever you need to say, just keep it not vulgar. I'm plenty vulgar here. I'm
family friendly.
Yeah, family friendly. So, was there anything else you wanted to talk about our this whole intro thing? Oh yeah, I always do like to mention too, guys. In the description of this video, at the bottom, there's a lot of links, educational links, stuff we wrote from scratch, and I drew from scratch, and then I scratched. It's down there in the description. It's plenty of good material for printing. It's kid-friendly, it's easy to read, and it's turnkey stuff like hatching eggs, incubating, okay? What's the other one? Raising chicks, processing meat, all kinds of stuff. And, you know,
and if you're
Quail Q&A,
if you're
like
doing
a little
jumbo
Q&A.
quail, like what is a good number of quail to get, and all that stuff.
See, the whole thing behind what we were doing here is that people are inherently kind of what you would call very lazy. So I collated the information and wrote it in a very easy to understand manner so people wouldn't have to spend hours learning how to raise a stupid little quail. You can just buy some quail, read that Q&A, and have a pretty good solid understanding of how to raise these things. Same thing with all the other stuff we write. Okay? Right?
Yeah.
Right. Okay, here we go. All right, I'm starting out with questions. This question comes from Carol B. What are the pros and cons? I like doing game show host voice when I'm reading off a card. Carol B says, what are the pros and cons of free-ranging versus keeping chickens in a run? Carol, that's a great question. Actually, so there are pros and cons to both of these. So free-ranging, obviously one of the wonderful pros of free-ranging your chickens is the variety of diet. They're going to be going out and finding all kinds of critters, and they're scratching and pecking and bringing up hundreds of different variety of organisms, which I don't want to go and talk about it as Mr. Science today, but those hundreds of organisms, be it plants, or animal, fauna, the insects, right? Each of those have a complex array of micronutrients that the animal is now ingesting and incorporating into their body and into their eggs. So the old debate, is a store egg more nutrient dense than a farm-raised chicken egg? You know, is the chicken egg at home better? The answer is yes. It could be negligible, but for the most part, yes.
I think you said it the other way around. You said it's a store egg more nutritional.
No, not the store egg. Store egg's bad. Boo, we don't like the store egg. Because store eggs raised in those giant chicken concentration camps, they usually have a very, very monoculture diet of just corn or something, or soy or whatever.
Yeah.
Whereas your free-range chicken, Carol, one of the pros, is that it does have that wonderful access to a variety of food. Okay?
And then even just the sun, vitamin D, that affects their immune system and overall health, which is, going to affect their performance in egg laying.
So is there a con to free-ranging? Yes, there is. So the con to free-ranging is somebody likes to eat those chickens, right? Predators. So Mr. Fox sees them, and Mr. Fox comes along and gobbles them up. So that's a con to free-ranging, or more accurately, like a neighbor's dog or something. And then every once in a while, the free-range chickens decide to cross the road, and they don't come back. You've seen this. Squish chickens. Okay, the chickens. So free-ranging them is great, but you got to keep an eye on them because they can be susceptible to predators. They can be susceptible to, running off, getting hit by a car out in the road. And the other thing is, they could be susceptible to a pathogen. There's a wider area that they're spread out to. I don't want to get too much into pathogens. I usually have my disclaimer at the beginning. I'm not a vet.
Yeah, we're not vets.
However, and any organism that is exposed to its environment is going to develop an immune system adapted to that environment. Okay, you're going to have the bugs get in their body recognizes it, says, oh, I don't want to get overwhelmed by that. So the chickens are adapted to their environment until they get a pathogenic load or a large load. Maybe they're drinking contaminated water. Okay, that's common. You might have a contaminated water source that they go to. So that's a con. Pros and cons of raising in a run. I guess it's exactly the opposite. The pros are they're going to be safe. They're not going to be eaten up by predators. You can keep an eye on them. Okay. Con, you got to keep that run clean. It's a smaller area. If you have a lot of chickens, they're going to dirty it up. So keep it clean. And if you don't keep it clean, we just did one-on-one diseases and illnesses. That can happen. Okay, super. What's your question?
Okay, I've got a question from Jessica. What are the most effective ways to prevent common diseases in backyard chickens?
Get rid of the chickens?
Well, the most effective way, now are we assuming that these, Jessica, I know we don't have you on here, are we assuming that these chickens are in a run in a closed-in area? Well, I guess at
It's
some
a general
point
question. How do
it'll
you
be in there.
most effective way to prevent common diseases in backyard chickens? Well, what's the
And
most common cause of disease in backyard chickens?
it's-
Probably prevent that, right?
Yeah, I mean, pretty much it's having a dirty environment, build up of manure, soil bedding, that's just building up. That's going to be like a breeding ground for bacteria and like parasitic type of organisms, and also coops that aren't cleaned really at all may have a higher risk of having like something like mites that are that live in the dark crevices of the coop.
Yeah.
Mites, and they'll come out and then they'll feed on the bird while they're roosting and sleeping, and then when daylight comes they go off the bird and go into the crevices. So you want to make sure cleanliness, not like, eat off of it like it's super clean, but just having a regular routine of tidying up manure, and maybe in the fall and spring, just create a routine of treating and cleaning the whole coop all together.
Correct.
Yeah, and providing fresh water, making sure food is in a some sort of feeding contraption that keeps the food from getting soiled
Contraption?
or whatever,
I'm only kidding. Contraption sounds fun.
that prevents it from getting wet, particularly if, depending on the type of food, to prevent mold.
Yeah, so we did this whole thing. Was it last week we talked
The
about
biosecurity. Mm-hmm.
basically just keep the place clean.
Yeah,
That's
you don't
gonna
have to be
cut down the
obsessive,
majority
but
of
the
your
more
disease.
of
I
a
think of it
good
this way.
routine.
You know, you have a bathroom in a house. Imagine instead of a toilet, you just had a floor. So that's what your chickens are dealing with.
Yeah.
So keep the thing clean. Clean it out once in a while. All right. Next question. Bad 3446. That's a screen name. So, what are some ways to keep my chickens cool during the hot summertime outside summer? Well, we're getting towards the end of summer, but we're still going to have a couple sweltering hot death days coming up. I'm pretty sure. Shade, a screen, okay. Like you don't need a tarp, especially a dark colored thing. You don't want it heating up. But shade screening, is that what it's called?
Yeah, with the
Screening,
white.
draping a screening over, draping a white over top of the hutch or the coop. Okay, something to reflect the solar radiation. A white sheet or a white tarp in that case would work fine.
And even
bag.
putting that over your coop, if your coop roof is real dark and you notice that the interior gets really warm. But also, if you can provide, if you have space where they can go under the coop, or if you have something that creates a dark shade, in the sense that when they go in the shade, it's like a nice cool shade. So that would be more of like a solid material, but providing something like what Christopher just mentioned, that's going to be more of like a lighter shade, right? But it'll also
white,
still help.
preferably white.
It will help.
Ew, don't forget icy beverages. Make ice cubes or blocks of ice and dump them into the chicken water
Or freeze water
any
bottles.
livestock, really, horse, goat, whatever the animal is. If you have a big ice block, dump it in. The bigger the ice block, the better in the summer. It has more density. It takes longer to melt. If you put a bunch of ice cubes in the water, it'll be warm within about 10 minutes. If you put a giant ice block in there, it'll stay cold for a while. Won't stay
And
exactly
position
how
your water
In the shade.
in the shade, or at least easy for them to get to from a shaded area, and then just make sure they have fresh water.
Yeah, one other thing, keeping your chickens cool during the summers, a fan, like you want to keep ventilation in their coop, and maybe even install a small fan if feasible.
Yeah, you just want to have some airflow.
Okay, go ahead, ask your question. What was your question?
For my next question,
Yeah, next question.
Carmen L., can you explain the differences between the various types of chicken feed and how to choose the best one for my flock? So, yeah, there are
gosh. Yeah,
a
that's a
lot
big one.
of different types of chicken feeds available. I'm going to just go over what are like the good things to look for. So, when you're looking at the ingredient list,
We should do a chicken feed live again.
Yeah, we should.
Yeah.
There has to be protein in the food because living creatures tend to need protein to be healthy.
It's the foundation of all their cells.
So there are different types of protein, though. There's plant proteins, which, just different types of plants that have protein. And then there's animal protein. Now, animal protein has amino acids, and you can break that down into the
Plant protein has amino acids. There's different types of protein.
The different types, yeah. So animal protein, with the type of amino acids that animal protein has, it's really beneficial for their growth, for their frame, for their feathering, for their whole overall function. Did you have anything to mention about that?
Yeah, so, feed, I'm going to go break down feed. You guys, this is important, and this is kind of like an intuition thing. God, you get on the internet, everybody's an expert, and none of the experts know anything. So I'm not going to ask an expert. I'm going to ask Mother Nature. Hey, Mother Nature, what should I feed my chicken? You know what Mother Nature says? Mother Nature says feed the chickens what they evolved to eat, right? So what did they evolve to eat? So chickens are all domesticated chickens. There's only one species of domesticated chicken. That's Gallus domesticus. Everything else is just the showmanship, the breed. Okay, they got different feathering, whatever the sizes, different breeds, but all one species. And they all come from a little chicken out in the rainforest or the jungles of, I forget, Java, Sumatra, somewhere out there in the Gallus. It's the red jungle fowl, right? Or the jungle fowl. These animals are designed to forage and eat insects and grain and stuff they find in the ground, weeds, grass. They eat everything.
Even mice and snakes and
whatever they get a hold of, they'll eat it, and their bodies are designed to digest it. But we're not feeding them that here on the chicken patch. Hey, it's Susan. Hey, Susan. So we're not feeding our chickens what they're biologically designed to consume, because we just can't. It's not feasible. I don't have a gigantic rainforest. However, we're trying to mimic the nutrients that the animal's getting out in nature, and you're trying to do it the best you can with a quality, full blend feed. Mm-hmm. And if possible, you're supplementing it with their free ranging. They're going around and they're doing what the wild jungle fowl does in the jungles, except they're doing it in your backyard in the grass, and they're eating the insects and the other things there. So the answer is feed them what Mother Nature had designed for them to eat. But that's not feasible because we don't live in a jungle. So we're going to go ahead and try to supplement that. And that's actually what we're doing. We're supplementing their natural diet with this controlled diet that we... tractor trails in the background.
Big truck coming down the road.
So we're supplementing their diet with something that hopefully was blended and put together properly, truck noise, that has a complete nutritional profile to meet the needs of the bird. And also, then we're going into, I don't want to go too much into this.
I did have more to say about it. I wasn't sure if you wanted to say more about the protein.
The quality of the ingredients. Yeah. But go ahead. So I think we just stick with like layer feed, grower feed. And
right. So the reason why I mentioned about the protein is if you can, when you're looking at the feeds, if you see animal protein, which examples of that would be like fish meal, crab, swine, any kind of meat, protein in there instead of versus like a plant protein like soybean, some sort of plant protein. The animal protein is going to be better for the bird. It will be much healthier.
It's more expensive.
It is more expensive because it's better. Now, also, the type of ingredients, as far as is it whole grains? Is it cracked grains? Is it pellets? Is it crumbles? Those are all different types of things, but overall, when you think about seeds, which would be whole grains, those type of ingredients like a kernel of corn, a whole pea, whole oats, unadulterated, then that type of seed is going to be completely, all the nutrients and everything will be contained within that one seed kernel, and it can last for a very long time.
Decades.
So there's not a shelf life really on whole grains.
However,
also,
they need to be stored properly. Moisture and heat will rot them out and they'll get mildew.
Right. And And so going with that whole the fact that they're not compromised, that shell isn't compromised. So air, if it's being kept in a proper environment, not in a moldy, humid place, we want it in a dry place, then the shell will keep everything. Now, if you have a crushed kernel, if any of the ingredients are crushed, if it's pelletized, if it's crumble, now what happens is the interior of the grain is now exposed to the air. So there's oxidation that happens there, and as soon as that's exposed to the air, now the clock is ticking, and there is a shelf life.
Yeah, so, gosh, this is extremely complex for a simple question. Yeah, so the cracked grains or pellets particularly too, they're heated. So if you're going to grow a seed...
Hold on one second. So the reason why we're mentioning all of this is because we value nutrition and giving the birds, good nutrition, and the type of ingredients and how it's prepared will affect the nutrition the bird gets.
Yeah. So if you're growing a seed, you don't smash it up and put it into the ground in the form of a powder. The seed retains its nutrients in the nutrient profile. When I'm talking about nutrients, and when people in Western culture think about nutrients, they think of macronutrients, which is protein, carbohydrate, and fat. So when I'm talking about nutrients, I'm talking about all the micronutrients. Now they begin to oxidize and break down, so it becomes a less nutritive meal the longer it sits. Mm-hmm. Okay, so chicken feeds, like, the simple answer to that question is get locally grown fresh grains, in a good mix. Make sure you know what the mix is, or mix it yourself if you know what you're doing. But get something that's, the fresher the better. Whole grains are great. Mm-hmm. And, yes, supplement it with animal protein if you can, like, what do you call them? Little bugs. What are those bugs people love to get? The mealworms, the fish meals, and et cetera. Different things like this is going to be exceptional for the chicken. And, if possible, free range them to get them a more complete nutrition profile. Okay?
Oh, and also... there's different types. There's layer feed, which layer feed is generally for mature chickens.
That's probably what that question was all about.
Oh.
What was the question?
It was just differences between various types
of chicken feed. Let's just go with layer feed, broiler feed.
It has calcium
scratch.
And it has lower protein amount. So usually layer feed is like 16 to 18% protein with 3.5% calcium. And that's because the bird is not focused on growing anymore. It's mature, it's laying eggs, and so it just needs to maintain its body size and function. And also the calcium is going to help the egg-laying muscles of the hens, so she doesn't prolapse. It'll strengthen those muscles, and then also it'll strengthen the eggshells so that the eggshell is hardened or hard or there. If they don't have calcium, then they'll lay shellless eggs, and it's just like the membrane with the interior, and that's potentially harmful if a hen is laying an egg without a shell, because it could burst inside of her and cause infection.
Yeah, that's not good.
So that's the layer feed, and then grower feed, broiler feed. That's for like meat chickens that are growing quickly.
It's high protein.
Yeah, it's high protein.
Most of them are going to be, all of them are going to be plant protein. So it's high protein, though, to get them growing.
And then chicks and juveniles, usually it's like a 20% protein of whatever the options that you're looking at a store. And it's just meant to keep them growing, support their growth rate while they're young, and provide the proper nutrition as they're growing. Yeah.
Bingo. I didn't get too much in depth into the linoleic acid and the different omega-3 and all these different components.
Sorry if we got a little too detailed earlier there. We're really big into feed.
And I am secretly a nerd, and I like to read nonstop and learn stuff. Well, that's what's great about, like I said at the beginning of this video, the whole homestead thing. You're teaching yourself different skills, and you're learning new things. And then when you go to a party, you can talk about chicken feed. Everybody's going to be like, hey, gather around. Steve's talking about chicken feed again. I want to listen to this. They don't actually do that.
No.
Okay, cool. So how do I manage noise levels? This comes from Tom K. How do I manage noise levels in a suburban area? Or how do I manage the noise level of my flock in a suburban / outskirts of a city area. Okay, noise level of your flock. So roosters are going to make the majority of the noise. You're probably not, I don't want to speak on your behalf. If you're going to be hatching eggs, you're probably going to need a rooster. I don't think they do immaculate chickens.
So
you're
people
going to need,
will just contact,
buy
ask
eggs.
for people for eggs, fertile
Or you
eggs.
can do it that way. Other than that, get rid of the roosters because you don't want to have the crowing in the morning. Everybody's going to go nuts. Most areas that allow, we call them hens, stipulate you can't have roosters anyway. But an area that says you can have hens and they're still making noise. So when are you flicking the lights on and taking them out of their coop, right? Is it too crowded? Do you have too many birds?
So with the hens, they will do an egg song. So sometimes they do it like before they lay the egg, which is kind of funny. But pretty much it's around laying their eggs. So they'll lay their egg and then they'll come out of the coop. Sometimes they'll stand at the coop door and just very obnoxiously let the world know they laid an egg. And so with Christopher mentioning what time are you letting them out, usually hens, well, I don't want to say usually. Maybe it depends on the breed. We have black Australorps.
Some breeds are quieter than others.
Yeah, but we have black Australorps. They're a big dual-purpose breed. They can be used for meat and egg laying. And they lay their eggs in the morning. So, I mean, that's just something, if you really wanted to avoid noise, you could keep them in a little longer. But my silkies, on the other hand, they lay them anywhere from morning till like 2 o'clock. So, but the silkies or other breeds like silkies, which would be bantam breeds because they're miniature, they're much smaller than a standard layer chicken. They're smaller, and that'll help the noise level be less. They still will make their egg song, but their noise level, it's not as loud, doesn't project as loud, and how else can you describe sound?
Loud, not loud. One thing too, a good alternative to the chicken are the quails. The quail do not make a ton of noise. The males do a crow. You might be able to hear them in the back. It's a male crow. But the hens lay eggs and they don't really make any noise. They're quiet, or they make a small chirping noise, kind of like a cricket. So managing noise of the flock, smaller flock, get rid of the roosters, and you should be okay. And the other stuff we mentioned, get a quiet breed. Do you want to ask? Go ahead, do your question, because we're almost done.
This is from Lucas H., also called Royal Roots. What are the best practices for integrating new chickens into an existing flock to minimize stress and disease transmission? Well, we always recommend separating new birds from your current flock when you have them for several reasons. Any kind of transition, and particularly being moved from one location to a completely new location, is going to be stressful. So you want to isolate them and have them in an area that's not going to be super stimulating, and also where they can just have time. Hopefully you have more than one because they are social.
Yeah, I was going to say, pause for 1 second. We have a whole video on this. Remember we didn't. So we have a video. If you're interested in integrating chickens, we do have a video in our video section on integrating. Go ahead, sorry.
Yeah, no, that's fine. And this will give the new chicken time to become adjusted to your new food that you're feeding it. They'll become adjusted to you and the sounds, smells, also even the organisms in the soil that you have, because your area is different from where it came from. And so the idea is that it's going to de-stress, and as it's de-stressing, it's adjusting to all this new stuff. And you're now also monitoring this new bird to make sure it's healthy, nothing pops up illness-wise. And see, the thing is, when under stress, their immune system can become suppressed.
When you bring a new chicken in?
Yeah, so if the bird is stressed
The new chicken's stressed.
Yes. Then if its immune system is suppressed, which is very likely because it's stressed, you want to make sure you're doing what you can to prevent stress, because you want to get that immune system, you want to get de-stress so the immune system comes back up. When that happens, there's a chance, it could catch something. So you're also protecting your flock too, in case something does pop up illness-wise.
Yeah, if you're buying a new chicken, keep them separate.
Yeah, and we say minimum 2 weeks.
Because you want to watch, like that new chicken may, like she's saying, it may have a disease that's not overwhelming it. You bring it to the new environment, it gets stressed out, its immune system decreases, and then they start showing symptoms of whatever it is they were carrying.
Or your flock could be carrying something that they're not showing.
Or used to.
And they're hardy to it. And this new chicken is stressed out, and the immune system is suppressed, and now it's in this new area, maybe exposed to your birds, and then catches something.
Oh,
So you want to have them.
Oh, sorry, I was going to say, I'm not a vet. Be sure to talk to your veterinary professional before.
Yes.
This is not veterinary advice, just our experience. But go ahead.
So 2 weeks minimum separate from your other birds.
Yeah.
And what was I going to say? So then when you're going to integrate, now the new bird is calm and de-stressed, because now integration is a new stress. It's a new thing, like new flock mates, hierarchy and all that stuff. Now we recommend, easiest thing that we recommend to do is, particularly if you have a mature flock. If you have juveniles in your flock, it's really easy to integrate because they're not really thinking about hierarchy yet. If you have mature birds, we recommend taking foreign items, foreign objects, and putting them into the run area.
Box, log, toy,
as long as
chair,
it's safe. A chair, a board, just foreign objects. And what that will do is your original flock that are mature, they will kind of be like, oh my gosh, what is this? What's going on? And
that's a good question. Describe the flavor of jumbo quail. I will after she does this question.
They'll be thrown off, and it's because it's their territory. If you just put the bird in there, then there's a very high chance they're going to pick on this new bird, bully the bird, and really stress it out. So if you have all these items in there, the original birds will get super distracted, like really distracted. They won't even notice you putting in the new bird, and it won't know there's anything different, and they'll adjust really quick. Yeah.
Okay. We had a question from Zen. Please describe the flavor of, I have a little cheat card, but describe the flavor of quail. So if you haven't had quail before, now we raised jumbo Coturnix quail, and you ate some tonight.
I did.
And it was delicious.
Yes, it is.
Very tasty. So what does it taste like? I had a conversation. Now, you can never ask me an easy question and get a simple answer. It always has to be a long-winded, because there's precision in this answer. So flavor is a perception, believe it or not. It's cultural, and there's influences into the way we perceive flavor. All right? Because a friend of mine has quail, and she was feeding, and her friends didn't like quail. Like, oh, I don't like. They taste it. Tasted different to them. But how does it taste? How would I generally describe it? It's like a very lean, dark meat. I think. Like.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Like
like the dark meat of a chicken, like the chicken thigh.
Yeah, but chicken thigh is fatty. It's got a higher
True.
fat content.
Yeah.
So it's a lean, I think very similar to a lean, and I cook a lot. So it's like a lean, dark meat. I guess that's the best way. It's tender. Like if you cook it properly, it's good. It's tasty. Yeah, I think it's delicious. We cook them all the time.
We like using the pressure cooker or slow cooker because you can put the whole quail in there, and then the meat will just like fall off the bones.
Off the bone.
Otherwise, it could be
barbecue, grilled, however you want to cook them. Cook them in the oven. Yeah, so it's similar to it's a poultry. I mean, I could say pheasant. I don't think anybody's had pheasant. Is it kind of like pheasant? I guess. If you've never eaten a pheasant, it depends on the pheasant too. Wild and domestic taste different. So Zen, in answer to your question, it's like a light, or a lean, dark meat cut from a chicken. Okay? So it's missing a little bit of that fat flavor because it's so lean. Sometimes I'll add fat to the dish, a butter or a tallow or something like that. How many quail eggs equal one chicken egg? Oh, it's Griff. What's up? He's a homie. He's from back in the hood. Do I have any? Yeah, we have some right here. Let me get rid of quail eggs. Come on. I know. They're delicate and you're using them.
Yeah, he's getting eggs I'm collecting to hatch.
It's not going to be broken. That is a single quail egg. So 3 of these. What up? 3 of these are equivalent to one
Chicken egg.
large chicken egg. So 3 to 1. And, oh, hey, Griff, down in the description here in the video, I have a whole bunch of, I think, quail math I wrote a little PDF called Quail Math. It'll show you like the equivalency, because people often wonder like, how many quail should I get? I'm like, well, that's too broad of a question. What are you trying to accomplish? Well, I want to have eggs for the family. How big's the family? Is it like a pirate horde? What do you got going on here? No, it's 2 kids and me, whatever. So they need like 6 eggs a day. So it's very simple quail math. If 3 of these equal 1 chicken egg, and I want 6 chicken eggs a day, but I'm going to do quail instead, then I'm going to need 3 times 6, right? 3 times 6, or 3 hens per egg, times I want 6 eggs, is 18 hens. So I'd want...
Because they pretty much lay an egg a
Egg
day.
a day.
It's usually, if you have 18 hens, you're going to get pretty much like 17 to like maybe 21 eggs a day.
They double lay?
Sometimes they do.
Double lay. So, yeah, so 3 of these to 1 chicken egg.
Do they lay at the same interval as chickens?
Like whatever their period is with the black Australorps. What time do they lay? 3, 4, whatever. They do. So the quail are pretty regular. I collect the eggs at about 5 or 6 o'clock, and the hutches will be empty at around 3, and then they're filled with eggs at around 6. So yeah, they're pretty consistent and regular. It's the same with chickens with their laying. Once the light starts decreasing in the fall, they're going to decrease laying. So you want to have 16 hours of light in total. Daylight and supplemental lighting, like a electrical light, Christmas lights, or LED strips. So if you have 12 hours of daylight, you're going to want to add 4 hours of extra light with an LED or something. It doesn't need to be super bright, because this will trick the birds' hormones into thinking that, oh, it's still laying season, and they'll still produce their eggs. So yeah, these guys are really proficient layers, and so it's 3 to 1. 3 quail eggs equal 1 chicken egg. Go down the description, man. I wrote all these PDFs. They're really good. There's one called Quail Q&A. It answers all these questions, because these things grow like super quick from hat.
Put it back.
I almost dropped it.
He drops things all the time.
I drop everything I touch. From hatching to when they're laying eggs is 6 to 8 weeks. So it's pretty quick, right? Whereas a chicken takes months.
Yeah.
So anyway, that was a long side spiel. All right. So we answered. What did we do last?
Mine.
Okay, cool. All right, we're doing Q&A. I'm doing customer questions and write-in questions on my little dinosaur card. Thank you for the question, Chris. Quail egg down. Almost. I caught it. I dropped it 3 times in midair and caught it each time.
Again, these eggs I'm collecting to replace our breeders, so I value these.
Yeah. So anyway, okay. So, is it worth getting a dual-purpose chicken?
We have another.
Ooh, cage recommendations. Either purchasing from someone, build, or building your own. Any recommendations on building? So, yes.
We have that quail, the hutch video.
I could bring my whole hutch in here. I have a little miniature hutch. Also, thank you guys. Hey, no problem, Zen. So, quail hutch building, you don't have to be a master class carpenter to build a hutch. It's just a square. It's a box. It's a rectangular shape, but there's some things to know about it. I do have a walkthrough video where I try to go through it pretty quickly to talk about what is important with the hutch. And the real important issues with the hutch are predator proofing. So we recommend 1/2-inch hardware cloth, not chicken wire. People use chicken wire and they come out to a cage full of dead quail. I'm not even joking.
The predators.
And they get mad at everybody. Like, why do these? Because a moose can reach in there. Like, you don't want to use it.
But also, some of the predators can bite through.
And they can bite through the chicken wire. Yeah. So 1/2-inch hardware cloth on the tops, bottom, sides, and they need ventilation because they respirate a lot more than a chicken. They're warmer than a chicken, etc. But I do have a walkthrough video on our channel that'll show you. I walk through and show you one of our hutch systems.
And then you did with the mini.
And I built a little model. Yeah,
important things.
I could do. Maybe I'll do that again as a live video. I have a model I built, like a scaled down.
But that video is also on our YouTube video.
That's on
channel.
there, because that's right. Because it's a common question about hutches: predator proofing, ventilation, and then how many quail. You're really building it around the number of animals you intend to keep. Okay, you don't have something that's too huge, and obviously you don't have something that's too small. and you want to plan accordingly. You don't want to get 50 birds when actually all you need is 20, you know? So some pre-planning is best. And we, you know, that's what we go over here all the time. Like most of these videos are about starting out properly, you know, setting your goal properly, doing a little front-end research so you can execute your plan and have some tip-top production rather than getting frustrated. Like, you know, everybody does that. They do something not knowing when they're going in, it's frustrating. So,
Yeah.
thank you for the question. That was a good question. Okay, what was I saying? Is it worth raising dual-purpose chicken breeds? From Patricia L. It depends on what your goals are. So if you're trying to raise a dual-purpose chicken breed, you may be thinking like, well, if I get birds for meat and eggs, they're not going to be really good at either, but they'll do both. That's not true. So you can get very proficient egg layers that also have sizable growth for meat.
And generally, you're growing the roosters out to process.
Yeah, because they don't lay
how we do
eggs.
that. Yeah.
Because the chickens
And
are-
they get bigger.
and they get bigger. Yeah, so is it worth raising a dual-purpose chicken breed? Again, it really depends on your goal. We have black Australorps, which are dual-purpose. They're laying eggs, and we'll butcher them for meat. But if you're...
And they do go broody, so they will hatch their own eggs. So
They'll
if you
hatch
if you
them.
don't want to have to deal with incubation, then you know there are breeds that will do that for you. And if it's important to you to be able to reproduce your meat source, then dual purpose would be an option.
Yeah, a heritage breed or something like this. If you're looking for meat, like, oh, I want to get meat. Should I get a chicken that does eggs and meat? Well, if it's just meat, you may want to get a meat bird, right? Like we're raising the Cornish cross is extremely popular. What's the other one? Red Ranger or whatever it is.
Yeah,
There
there's
are
several.
There's several meat breeds, and by meat breeds, they're specifically bred, so they fill out quickly. And they don't even mature. They're not even
Right.
when you process them for meat, they're not even mature where they would be egg laying or crowing. An average, what is harvestable edible weight of a quail? That's a good
So-
question. Like after cleaning, before cleaning.
Yeah, you're losing about maybe 2 ounces, or would it be a little bit more than that once you dress it?
Look in my conversion chart down in the bottom in the I put remember that meat conversion chart?
I think so.
What were we saying coming out to?
So the live birds, generally live birds are, so the hens tend to be most commonly larger than males, but usually you want to keep your hens for the eggs. However, males, they're really quick to grow, and an average usually would probably be around a low end, a live weight would be 10 ounces, and then a higher for males would be 13 ounces. It's a little tougher to keep the males higher in weight, so that's why it's important to have intention. If you're going to be reproducing yourself, you're going to want to be keeping larger birds for your breeders to keep them up in weight.
Yeah, Griff, down the bottom, I put this thing together. It's a meat conversion chart because we did a video on, what do you call it, the Cornish cross. So the meat,
right.
what that conversion is like how many pounds of feed are necessary to produce 1 pound of edible meat, okay? Or 1 pound of live weight. And you're going to have 2 different numbers in that chart. And what we're looking for, obviously, is edible, the meat, like the protein, the output of the animal that's going to be going on a dinner plate because we're not eating live chickens, we're eating the meat. And that should be down there, and that's something that's pretty useful to people if you're planning, especially larger scale stuff, do a little research into that. Like, what am I spending? Like, what is my upfront investment going to be to raise 30 chickens, or whatever it is, to the maturity size?
And same with quail.
To get it, to the ballpark. It's not like rocket science where it's going to be exacting and precise, but it'll ballpark it.
And with the quail, the jumbo quail, they are bred for meat and egg laying. They lay the largest eggs and a high quantity of eggs, provided they're kept the proper size if you're breeding them. The bigger if you start, so they should be under 16 ounces. And this goes for chickens as well. If you start breeding birds that are larger than the standard for that breed that they're intended to be, then the bird is going to start using a lot more energy to keep its body going. So that energy is going, there's pro and con. It has to be pulled from somewhere. It's going to be pulled from that egg production. So the egg count will start dropping. If you have a lower weighted female. She's probably going to lay a lot more eggs, but her eggs will be smaller. So there's a balance. So I'm sorry. The way the bird is shaped, it's very, very meaty in the chest for the quail, the jumbo quail. And as far as satisfying like an adult for dinner, a dinner meal, like 2 quail is plenty of meat on your plate with, sides and whatever else. They're very filling. There's a lot on it.
Cool. Ask a question, ma'am. Ladies and gentlemen, if you're just joining us, thanks for hopping in. We're actually doing, what do you call it? Customer, viewer questions that we printed out. But if you have a question, drop them in the bottom. Griff had a bunch. Zen had some good questions. So what are we doing next?
So this question comes from Mike R. How can I design a predator-proof chicken coop?
We just talked about that.
Yeah, so the main, it's very similar like to the quail. Pretty much if you have any holes that are the size of a quarter and larger, a predator can get through. So rats can fit through that, minks can fit through that, snakes, raccoons can put their greedy little paws through that and grab. So make sure that in the area that you want them to be safe in, there's any hole is smaller than a quarter.
And latches, make sure the thing is latching up properly. Raccoons can, so some people use they'll do like a piece of wood that, we have one of those.
Yeah, raccoons are very clever.
The raccoon will push the little piece of wood down and open the door. So make sure you have something that can latch properly or it's secured.
And also, like if you have a nest box with a roof that lifts up, make sure that also has a latch because raccoons, again, they will sit there and push it up and then grab the chicken.
So we have the little night cameras on the coops. And remember the raccoon was like doing that and pushing and it looked like an idiot person trying to figure out how, they have like people hands.
Yeah.
And the raccoon is pushing up on the box, scratching at the door, looking around. He knows what he's doing. And he would have figured it out, but it was locked up properly.
And then also make sure the integrity of the structure, the fencing, the posts, the wood, the sides, whatever the structure is, that it's strong. So if you have coyotes or a neighbor dog gets loose, it can withstand some harassment.
Yeah, chicken wire doesn't do it.
And then also going under the fence. Now, diggers, there's plenty of critters, even fox, that will dig under. So some people will put their fencing down into the ground. Some people will do an apron. There's different things, but that's something to consider. We did get a question from somebody.
Where? Over on the internet line. That was great. Can rats really take down quail? Man, rats can take down cats.
We had
the rats.
We had a
the
rat.
Rats will take down quail.
They're big. We had a rat take down ducklings
that
were bigger
ducklings.
than quail. So it's
Rats are powerful.
They're horrible.
If you're younger than me, Griff, but I would recommend you watch The Secret of Nim. The Secret of Nim. That'll give you an idea about rats if you haven't seen what rats are capable of. It's a good movie. But yeah, rats, they can definitely, they'll chew through wire, they'll chew through steel, they'll chew through a bunch of stuff. And they can take, if they get into access to an animal cage, they'll do some damage and they will render many creatures expired. Yeah.
The best thing to do is to prevention. And what attracts the rats the most and the mice is food on the ground or food left out. So make sure there's not a mess. If there is a mess, try to figure out a way to tidy up each day. Put food away if it's out and about or, out and exposed. But that's really, what brings the rodents in. And once you see them, there's more than one. So, yeah.
Zen had a question. What's my favorite quail dish? Remember that one I made that was really, really good? So I like cooking with Italian, so I like, she likes the fajitas, but I like garlic. It's a video on here. It's a food video. I did that. Remember
that one was really good.
It was so good. So I made I'm not trying to do this to pitch the video, but man, it's the best quail dish I made, and there's a video. I walked through how I made this. It's like, what do you call it? Cream, not a lot of cream, but it's more like, what do you call it? Onion, garlic, seared onion, caramelized onion, garlic, and a little bit of cream, mushroom, I think. It was really good, and some other stuff. I forget everything I put in it.
Did you cook it in a pan?
Yeah, it was seared in the pan.
And was it like flayed open?
Yes.
I'm trying to remember.
It was really good.
Yeah, it was good. Yeah.
And
Oh,
what was that? Keith, do you recommend keeping quail on the ground or up on hardware wire? Keith, the reason my big head is getting right here is because we're working on a
We're
phone.
reading off the
Do
phone.
you recommend keeping quail on the ground or up on hardware wire? We noticed them getting balled up dirt, food, and dropping stuck on their toes. Yeah, so we keep them off of the ground. So you can keep them down if you want. A lot of people do in aviary systems. Again, you want to keep them predator proof. Now, the issue with dirt and balling up their feet is probably what do you call it? Litter system.
Yes. Yeah. So if anything is getting stuck to their feet, then you're gonna want, if you want to keep them on the ground. Well, regardless, number one, if they're on the ground, you have to have a good deep litter system. If they're staying in one place.
Can you explain deep litter to people who may not know?
Deep litter. So pretty much what you want to do is minimize exposure to bacteria, coccidiosis, different types of organisms that could cause harm to the health of your birds. And what attracts those things are manure and just filth, pretty much. So you want to make sure to do some kind of management system, and usually it's a deep litter system. And what that means is you're going to use some sort of bedding. A common bedding would be untreated mulch, and or you could use, well, there's different things, but I think that's the best thing to use outdoors because it drains really well.
Cheaper the better.
Yeah.
And that's organic and real.
It is organic. So you'll put like maybe 4 or 6 inches down originally on the ground, and then it depends how many birds you have and how big the area is, but you'll have to maintain it by occasionally mixing it, turning it over, and then occasionally you'll see it starting to go down, and then you want to add another layer on there, which is why it's called a deep litter system, because it keeps getting deeper, but it'll keep deteriorating too, and that will keep the space in it'll be a healthy environment for the birds. If there's stuff getting stuck to their feet, it's pretty likely that you're going to want to refresh the bedding and keep it fresh.
That also promotes.
Oh yeah. So that's the acidity, and if there's an opportunity for them to cut very minorly their foot, then that's going to make an entryway for an infection, and that can get bumblefoot, and it's really a pain to treat with quail because they're so small.
Compromises their immune, compromises their health. So bumblefoot, you may have seen it. If you're raising a lot of quail, you're probably going to see it at some point. Looks like a spot on their foot, really. And that's the introduction.
Untreated, left to go to fester, it'll get bigger and bigger
and bigger.
It's a big sore.
You may have to call them, but you should be treating them. Anywho, so if it's a dirty area, so if you have a cage, okay, Keith, right, Mr. Keith, if you have a cage and it's hard to do a deep litter system, that may be problematic. So you may want to reinvestigate that or figure out how you could either put a litter system in, or if possible, it's best to keep them off the ground. Just maintaining the litter is a pain.
We like the hutch system because it is easy to maintain them and to keep their health good, and they're not exposed to a lot of things they're exposed to on the ground. But you do want to consider the wire. You're going to want to use a hardware cloth, 1/2-inch hardware cloth on the flooring, but you're going to want to make sure there's no burrs in the wire, because just like on the ground, like I mentioned, they can still get a cut, and then you'll still have the risk of bumblefoot. So vinyl coated wire is perfect. It's awesome to use, or that you can spray. There's a vinyl spray. Or you could sand it, use a hand sander or something on the wire if you don't have the vinyl option. But the vinyl is best, and
easy to clean.
Yeah, just make sure there's no splinters or nails.
Griffin had a great question. I like his question. He said, I know some chicken farms use paprika and other things to darken the color of their yolk. Do quails naturally have darker yolks, or can you use certain feed to make their yolks healthier? Healthier. Okay, so here's the trick. The paprika is not making it substantially healthier. Now they're going to get mad if I'm telling you a big chicken feed secret. So
I think we have another. Is that a new question? Yeah.
Yeah. We'll be right to you, Mr. Keith. So the paprika, what that's doing is introducing a carotenoid, right? Like vitamin A, okay? It's going in, it's making the egg look like that rich, natural yolk color that a chicken gets from eating all the vitamin A and carotenoids out in nature. So, is that
eating the grass? And
they're
stuff.
eating the grass and they're ingesting all these vitamins, so it's naturally going to be dark. You can take one of those, what do you call them? The industrial chickens, right? In those, what are they? I keep calling them the concentration camp chickens. The big farm chickens, right? They just sit in a box and eat all day.
Yeah.
Now you can trick and you can give them a supplement like that, and their eggs will darken, and people are like, oh my God, look how rich and dark this egg is. No. That chicken, they cheated. So you can do that. It does darken the egg. It's not really. If the carotenoid is naturally present because it's from diet, it's indicative of a varied diet. Okay, their diet is they're free ranging and they're eating. If you've seen free range eggs, they're yolky, they're red, or they're deep orange. Okay, you can supplement it to give it that color, but it's really just going to the color.
I think it affects the health of their eyes too.
Paprika for the chickens.
Yeah.
Because it's a vitamin A.
And the quail are similar to the. I mean,
his whole question was, similar. Do the quails have a deeper yolk color? The quail's eggs are very similar in color, and it's going to be dependent on the nutrients in the diet. Okay. Hello to everyone. I'm looking for Sarama chicks. Anyone have an idea where I can find them? Oh, sorry, Erland. I don't know where to find a Sarama. That's a big black one. Keith said something. You answered my question. Okay.
The Sarama are the little
I'm thinking of the big black chickens.
Yeah.
All right. So is there anything a certain feed to make eggs healthier? Well, yeah. I mean, you can give them, like we were talking earlier when we were discussing feed, an animal protein, particularly fish meal. Fish meal has the omega-3s. I don't want to get into the whole science. There's 3 types of omega-3. There's ALA, ELA, and DHA.
Yeah, there are definitely healthier types of food.
Only sea creatures contain, I want to say it's the ALA. Gosh, I forget. It's off the top of my brains. But it's made by a plankton or a phytoplankton, and then the fish eat that phytoplankton, and then we eat the fish or the marine life, and that omega-3 is present there. Otherwise, what?
But yes, short answer is yes. There are foods you can buy that have more nutritional value than others. We had mentioned earlier that if it's like a crushed grain, and so if you're buying, we're big fans of buying from feed mills if you can, because
local, cheap, and fresh.
If you talk to the feed mill guy, he's gonna know everything about the feed because he knows where it's coming from, the farmers he's working with, he knows how fresh the food is, how long he's had the food. Whereas if you're buying it from a box store, very likely by the time it's gotten mixed, packaged, designed, all that stuff, shipped, and then on the store shelf
and cooked,
it's probably like 8 months old. So it's like 8 months old.
It's older feed.
Yeah, if you work
big box store feed, the stuff with the pretty bags with the nice looking chickens, that's older feed. It has to be because it's mass produced.
If it's like a whole grain, we had mentioned earlier, if it's like a whole grain ingredient type thing, then those are still going to be fresh because they're not compromised. Quail, on the other hand, though, I'm not sure if they might nitpick ingredients, so you may have to go with a like a pellet, crumble, or crushed grain to make sure they're getting all the nutrients.
But the quail might nitpick,
right?
Not the mill,
right?
The quail are nitpicky.
So if we always, again, we encourage going with a mill because the food will be fresher. it will be healthier in general. Yeah, even if it's crushed.
Yeah, and you can qualify the feed mill food. Like, who sourced the food? Where did you get these grains from?
Yeah, you can hunt down
some
the
of these
ingredients.
customers are doing that. It's going to be like, well, was this near a field that had GMO crops growing next to it? You know, some people are
And
worried
some
about that.
feed mills, carry organic, all kinds of things, because they're considering their customers, and
Yeah, so look in your local area, especially if you're doing large amounts of feed. Look for a feed mill, build a relationship with them, do a little research so you don't go in there having to have them like, I'm not going to do all this work for you. You need to know something. So know what you're looking
just ask
for
questions.
and asking questions. All right, Griff's Head. I've seen some people feed June bugs as a healthy source of protein and vitamins. Have you done that? Well, I'll throw in bugs to any of the animals. Yeah, bugs are great. So June bugs, Japanese beetles, any kind of bug. Like we have, those soldier flies that are growing. Where the soldier flies. Any kind of bug. The issue is, how many bugs are you going to have to feed them to satisfy the protein requirements? Okay, so you're looking at pounds of bugs a week. And I mean, it's a great treat if you got them, yes. And it's good for them, sure.
But you want to think of it like a treat, right?
Yeah, a treat, because you're not really, realistically, most people aren't going to have enough insect protein to satisfy the nutrition needs, unless that's something they're really focused on. And then they have a whole second system where they're growing insect nutrition. They're growing the little soldier flies or whatever it is they're feeding them. Because they do need a lot of protein.
But the birds will love it. The
like
chickens, the quail, they do like the bugs.
Yeah, so don't be afraid to feed them bugs.
Yeah, I think I did the last with the chicken coop, predator coop.
Go ahead, ask a question. We'll ask a couple more because we're getting towards the end.
You're up next.
All right, let me find, because I'm getting tired of reading questions. I'll read, I was going to ask one about
Can we get another one?
for the kids. Am I crazy, or did you guys use to actual website URL besides Facebook? Did we have a URL? No, I think we've just been using the Facebook.
Yeah, we have a Facebook page. That's our primary.
Yeah, during the Corona thing, so we started a little homestead during the Corona.
We do have a domain name, but we don't have our website set up.
We have a Google business page thing. But we decided, like, hey, everybody's going nuts. They're sitting in their house. They're just connected to their telephones. They're not interacting with humans. But they're watching Tiger King. I think everybody watched it. And they're on social media. So I'm going to focus on one thing. And I'm going to kind of focus on the social media. I think would be a better outlet for us, which it was, because it's a small regional or local business, so you can reach out to a community a little more effective, I think, in that, for us anyway. I'm not telling anybody what to do, but for us, because we're the nature of what we do is regional, close by.
Yeah.
That the social media made it a lot easier for people to reach out and connect. So, another long answer to a simple question. Yes, no question. I talk too damn much. All right. Okay, should I raise quail or chickens? I kind of went over that one.
Yeah.
Okay. Farm mama. How many nesting boxes do I need for my chickens? Well, if you have a very small flock, you still would want to have at least 2 for the variety of chickens. All right. So, to provide a variety, a choice for those animals, not just one nest box.
Yeah.
And then I guess it's like for every 3 or 4, you want to have at least one box.
Do you know that for sure?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, just making sure.
Yeah, I know that
What
for sure.
happens is the chickens.
If you have 12 chickens, you have 12 nest boxes.
They will decide they like a particular nest box.
And they're not like it a job. They're not all going at the same time.
Well, sometimes they're in there together, but yeah, sometimes one is in the box, even though there's multiple boxes to lay in. One is in the favorite box and she's laying, and the other one's like, come on, hurry up, I want to lay in that box, none of the other ones. And instead of going in one of the other ones, she'll sit in front of the entryway of the box she wants to be in and lay right there. But yeah, sometimes they will use multiple boxes, but they generally will pick favorites. Yeah.
All right. Well, go ahead. We're getting towards the end here, ladies and gentlemen. I'm going to ask a couple more questions from our writing
questions. This is a
questions.
good question. Emma P says, how can I tell if my chickens are suffering from nutritional deficiencies and what supplements can help? So nutritional
Good
deficiencies,
question.
they tend to show up in different ways. Less noticeable way would be like earlobe color. Like for example, silkies, they have blue earlobes, and if they are not absorbing proper nutrition, then their earlobes will change to white. Their plumage may start to look more faded, and they're not growing the feathers in properly, per the usual, routine for that bird. If they've molted or not molted, they just might not refresh their feathers at all, and then just look really scraggly. They may have low energy. They may seem kind of like they have neurological, maybe balance issues. A low nutritional or a deficiency could show itself like wry neck. Older chicken, like I don't know about really old chickens, but you don't necessarily only see wry neck in chicks. You could see it in bigger birds, and they're deficient with a particular nutrient.
Selenium, is it?
Yeah, and
torticollis.
I think vitamin E and
Yeah, that's
something else.
wry neck.
And what that looks like is their neck goes down and they can't pick it up. So they're looking down, their neck is floppy, it's just down, they're walking backwards, and they might look sideways, and they just can't put their head back up.
But it's easy to fix.
You fix it by giving them the proper nutrition, the supplements, and there's lots of different simple ways to remedy that on the market. And yeah, those are the main things. You might see maybe the color of and consistency of the droppings, the manure may look different. For example, also calcium, if they're not if they're not absorbing calcium properly or even getting it. I mentioned earlier, they'll have shellless eggs.
Can I throw a little snippet out?
Mm-hmm.
One of the nutrients they may be deficient in is just everything if they're not eating. You have some chickens that aren't going to thrive.
Yeah.
Like
or if what they're being offered to eat isn't supplying them what they need.
Yeah. Or you switch feeds too. But yeah, if they're not eating, if there's some reason that the chicken's not eating, maybe you're not noticing, so you may want to feel the crop.
Yeah, the crop
See
is like
if
a pouch
yeah,
at the
see
base
if-
of their neck.
If you have a scraggly, scrawny looking chicken that's just walking around tired, you want to see if they even are taking food in that little crop pouch.
And that's easy to touch. You can just touch the crop. You can even, do that daily once in a while to see if it's full. Because a chicken will gorge themselves if given the opportunity, and they like what they're eating. And it can be the size of a golf ball.
And this is nutrient deficiencies, not illnesses.
Right. And also you want to handle them once in a while, because you might find a bird is super skinny, and you might not have noticed that. And they're not getting what they need. So there are things on the market that can help to boost their nutrition quickly, and just give them energy and just revitalize them while giving them proper food. Things like Rooster Booster, Poultry Drench, just electrolytes. There's different things that have lots of nutrition in it. And you put it in the water and they drink it, and then you feed them, something that's appropriate for what they need.
And then they're happy chickens?
Yeah.
Okay. I think that'll do it. I think I'm done asking questions. I had one more question, which is going to be a big, long one. I don't want to get into it. It was about involving the kids into the chickens, programs for them. But I think that'll do it. I think we had some nice questions come in. If you guys have any other questions, drop them in too. We answer them later.
Yeah.
Any last words?
Yeah, if you're new to our channel, we're doing both YouTube
Is somebody
and
actually watching
Facebook
this whole thing? It was like an
live.
hour of talk. If you're watching
you're
for
new,
an hour of talk, congratulations. You should
Please
send them a
subscribe
ribbon.
to our channel. Like the video if you thought it was beneficial or interesting. But yeah, we would love your feedback. If you have any questions or comments, like Christopher said,
Or suggestions. If you have a suggestion for an educational topic, please let me know. We have plenty of experience. I do a lot of research, and we do a lot of information gathering to bring you quality information. This was kind of a more informal, fun video. It wasn't like a structured educational one like I like doing, but it's okay. Yeah, guys, thanks for stopping in. Griff, if you're still there, thank you for your wonderful questions. Tell all your young friends there's a really awesome chicken video channel. I'm sure they'll be, all right, done partying. I want to watch a chicken video channel. And that'll be that. All right, guys, I hope you have a beautiful day. And stay safe out there. It's supposed to get kind of hurricaney.
Lots of rain. Well, have a wonderful day, evening, whatever time it is when you're watching this.
And weekend. We'll see ya.
Bye.